What was the rest of this?
Secretary of State's office investigated those State Farm arena allegations and didn't find any evidence of fraud. What did you find when your office conducted its own investigation?
We found that the suitcase full of ballots, the alleged black suitcase that was being seen pulled from under the table, was actually an official lockbox where ballots were kept safe. We found out that there was a mistake in terms of a misunderstanding that they were done counting ballots or tallying ballots for the night, and the partisan watchers that was assigned by each of the respective parties were announced to send home. But once they realized the mistake, someone from the Secretary of State's office had indicated that, no, we're not done for the night. You need to go ahead and continue counting. So once they packed up the lockbox full of ballots, they brought back the official ballot box again and continued to tally the ballots from the lockbox. Unfortunately, during the Senate hearing, Mr. Giuliani only played a clip that showed them pulling out the official ballot box from under the table and referring to that as a smoking gun of fraud in Fulton County. When in actuality, in review of the entire video, it showed that was actually an official ballot box that was kept underneath the tables. And then we saw them pack up because the announcement that they thought they were done for the night. And then once the announcement was made that you should continue counting, they brought the ballot box back out and they continued to count. The FBI interviewed the individuals that are depicted in the videos that purportedly were double, triple counting of the ballots and determined that nothing irregular happened in the counting and the allegations made by Mr. Giuliani were false.
Thank you very much. I'd like to play again a testimony from Mr. Donahue, who appeared before the committee before today.
How do you refute the 1960 Hawaii alternate slate refute? I see this get mentioned often. In 1960, the election in Hawaii was incredibly close. I think it was off by 160 votes. Because they wouldn't be able to do the recount and then transmit new electoral votes before the Electoral College actually met and counted, the Hawaii State Legislature agreed to send 2 different slates of votes to NARA and Congress under the condition that based on the recount that we do, you'll pick which one comports with the recount. That was Hawaii in 1960. It was explicitly authorized by the state legislature. It is not comparable to what Donald Trump tried.
Mr. Donahue, we talked at some length about whether or not the White House or the president was informed about the Antrim report. On the results of the investigations, the interviews that have gone on Fulton County, how would those results have been communicated to the White House, to the president?
Your voice, your vote, and for the third time, counties across Georgia.
And Bag Rose and I essentially told him we looked into that, and it's just not true.
Okay, so he was informed.
I told the president myself that several times in several conversations, that these allegations about ballots being smuggled in the suitcase and run through the machine several times, it was not true. That we looked at the video, we interviewed the witnesses, and it was not true.
Mr. Pack, after you left the U.S. Attorney's Office on January 4th, 2021, did the next U.S. Attorney there, I think Mr. Trump's personal pick, Bobby Christine, did he investigate any remaining claims of fraud? And if so, did he find any evidence that supported the president's claims of voter fraud?
It is my understanding that Mr. Christine continued any investigations that were pending at the time of my departure, but he was unable to find any evidence of fraud that affected the outcome of the election.
So after investigating the president's and Mr. Giuliani's claims about voter fraud in Georgia, is it your view today that there was no evidence of widespread fraud sufficient to undermine confidence in the outcome of the election in Georgia?
That is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Pack. And I want to thank you also for the service that you've given to our country. We appreciate that.
Simp. Okay, sorry. Okay, keep listening to this call for any red flags while I add these.
Went back to a different station. So if they would have come back, they would have walked to their station and they would have continued to work. But they couldn't do even that because that's illegal because they had no Republican poll watchers. And remember, her reputation is devastating. She's known all over the internet, Brett. She's known all over. I'm telling you, where's Ruby was one of the hot items on the Ruby. They knew her. Where's Ruby? So, Brad, there can be no justification for that. And I give everybody the benefit of the doubt. But that was, and Brad, why did they put the votes in 3 times? They put them in 3 times.
Mr. President, they did not put that. We did an audit of that, and we proved conclusively that they were not scanned 3 times.
Well, where was everybody else at that late time in the morning? Where was everybody? Where were the Republicans? Where were the security guards? Where were the people that were there just a little while before when everyone ran out of the room? How come we had no security in the room? Why did they run to the bottom of the table why did they run there and just open the skirt and rip out the votes? I mean, Brad, and they were sitting there, I think for 5 hours or something like that, the votes, but they just all happened to run back and go, Brad.
Yeah, Mr. President, we'll send you the link from WSB that does.
I don't care about a link. I don't need it. I have a much better list.
We're going to have a way better list.
The full tape. So has Alex. We've watched it. And what we saw and what we've confirmed in the timing is that they made everybody leave. We have sworn affidavits saying that. And then they began to process ballots. And our estimate is that there were roughly 18,000 ballots. We don't know that. If you know that.
There was 18,000 ballots, but they used each one 3 times.
Well,
so
I don't know about that, but I know.
Well, I do because we had ours magnified out. So each one magnified out is 3. But nobody can make a case for that, Brett. Nobody. I mean, look, you'd have to be a child to think anything other than that. Just a child. I mean, you never Trump for U.S. attorney there.
How many ballots, Mr. Secretary, are you saying that were processed in?
We had GPI thoroughly investigate that.
This is Ryan Germany. We had our law enforcement officers talk to everyone who was there after that event came to light. The GBI was with them as well as FBI agents.
Well, there's no way they could. Then they're incompetent. They're either dishonest or incompetent. Okay, there's only 2 answers: dishonesty or incompetence.
That's the only.
There's no way. Look, there's no way. And on the other thing I said too, there's no way. I mean, there's no way that these things could have been. You have all these different people that voted, but they don't live in Georgia anymore. What was that number, Clay? That was a pretty good number too. Yeah.
Well, the number who had registered out of state after they moved from Georgia, and so they had a date when they moved from Georgia. They registered to vote out of state, and then it's like 4,500. I don't have that right in front of me.
And then they came back in and they voted.
Yeah.
No, that was a large number, though. It was in the 20s. And, the point
We've
is...
been going through each of those as well, and those numbers that we got, that Ms. Mitchell was just saying, they're not accurate. Everyone we've been through are people that lived in Georgia, moved to a different state, but then moved back to Georgia legitimately. And in many cases...
Really? How many people do that? You mean they moved out and then they said, the hell with it, I'll move back in? It doesn't sound like a very normal... You mean they moved out, and what, they missed it so much that they wanted to move back in? It's crazy.
Well, and they moved back in years ago. This was not like something just before the election. So there's something about that data that it's just not accurate.
Well, I don't know. All I know is that it is certified, and they moved out of Georgia, and they voted. It didn't say they moved back in, Clayton, did it?
No, but I mean, we're looking at the voter registry. Again, if you have additional records, we've been asking for that. But you haven't shared any of that with us. You just keep saying you've been...
But Lita, a lot of it you don't need to be shared. I mean, to be honest, they should share it. They should share it because you want to get to an honest election. I won this election by hundreds of thousands of votes. There's no way I lost Georgia. There's no way. We won by hundreds of thousands of votes. I'm just going by small numbers. When you add them up, they're many times the 11,000. But I won that state by hundreds of thousands of votes. Now, do you think it's possible that they shredded ballots in Fulton County? Because that's what the rumor is. And also that Dominion took out machines. That Dominion is really moving fast to get rid of their machinery. Do you know anything about that?
Heard about that?
Because that's illegal.
This is Ryan Germany. No, Dominion has not moved any machinery out of Fulton County. We're having.
But have they moved? Have they moved the inner parts of the machines and replaced them with other parts?
No.
You sure, Ryan?
I'm sure, Mr. President.
And what about the ballots? The shredding of the ballots. Have they been shredding ballots?
No. The only investigation that we have into that, they have not been shredding any ballots. There was an issue in Cobb County where they were doing normal office shredding, getting rid of old stuff, and we investigated that. But this is stuff from past elections.
No, I don't know.
And that's what
it doesn't pass the smell test, though, because we hear they're shredding thousands and thousands of ballots. And now what they're saying, we're just cleaning up the office. I don't think that plays.
Well, Mr. President.
Keep in mind, right now, he's asking them if they've even heard about, these insane claims of voter fraud and stuff, right? And they're like, no. He's not saying, hey, so we've had somebody investigate this, and here's the evidence to lay it out. Have you looked at the results of, their investigation? It's just, totally...
The problem you have with social media, people can say anything.
No, this isn't social media. This is Trump media. It's not social media.
People can say, Mr. President, the problem you have with social media, people can say anything.
No, this isn't social media. This is Trump media. It's not social media. It's really not. It's not social media. I don't care about social, but I couldn't care less. Social media is big tech. Big tech is on your side. I don't even know why you have a side, because you should want to have an accurate election, and you're a Republican.
We believe that we do have an accurate election.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't have. Not even close.
Not even close.
You're off by hundreds of thousands of votes, and just on the small numbers, you're off on these numbers, and these numbers can't be judged. Well, why won't? Okay. So you send us into Cobb County for signature verification, right? You send us into Cobb County, which we didn't want to go into. And you said it would be open to the public, and we could have so we had our experts there. They weren't allowed into the room. But we didn't want Cobb County. We wanted Fulton County, and you wouldn't give it to us. Now, why aren't we doing signature, and why can't it be open to the public, and why can't we have professionals do it instead of rank amateurs that will never find anything and don't want to find anything? They don't want to find. They don't want to find anything. Someday you'll tell me the reason why, because I don't understand your reasoning. But someday you'll tell me the reason why. But why don't you want to find?
We chose Cobb County.
Why don't you want to find? What?
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so why did you do Cobb County? We didn't even we requested Fulton County, not Cobb County.
Well, Mr. President, we did have our election contest.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
We chose Cobb County because that was the only county where there's been any evidence submitted that the signature verification was not properly done.
Well, no, but I told you, but we're not saying that. We are the aggrieved party. Fulton County, look, Stacey, in my opinion, Stacey is as dishonest as they come. She has outplayed you at every heart, at everything. She got you to sign a totally unconstitutional agreement, which is a disastrous agreement. You can't check signatures. You can't do. I can't imagine you're allowed to do harvesting, I guess, in that agreement. That agreement is a disaster for this country. But she got you somehow to sign that thing, and she's outsmarted you at every step. And I hate to imagine what's going to happen on Monday or Tuesday, but it's very scary to people, where the ballots flow in out of nowhere. It's very scary to people. That consent decree is a disaster. It's a disaster. A very good lawyer who examined it said they've never seen anything like it.
A very good lawyer.
And
harvesting is still illegal in the state of Georgia, and that settlement agreement did not change that.
Well, it's not a settlement agreement. It's a consent decree. It even says consent decree on it, doesn't it? It uses the term consent decree.
Any good faith judge would rule this to be Trump as a candidate, right? He's lobbying for his campaign in this call. Does the president have any role in trying to tell states how to investigate state elections? Absolutely not. And I think that if Roberts was an honest actor and not a hack fuck piece of shit, Roberts would have said as much. Even Amy Coney Barrett was willing to stay that much. I believe the word she used was readily characterized. Did she say this? Or am I thinking of somebody else's? Syllabus. Nope, hold on, let me find. Did I highlight this? Fuck, okay. I didn't highlight it. Let me read. Hold on. I'll point it out because I believe she says as much. If the statute covers the alleged official conduct, the prosecution may proceed only if applying it in if the circumstances poses no danger of intrusion on the authority and functions of the executive branch. On remand, meaning when it goes back to the lower courts for consideration of different facts or law, on remand, the lower courts will have to apply that standard to various allegations involving the president's official conduct. Some of those allegations raise unsettled questions about the scope of Article 2 power, but others do not. For example, the indictment alleges that the president asked the Arizona House Speaker to call the legislature into session to hold a hearing about election fraud claims. The president has no authority over state legislatures or their leadership, so it's hard to see how prosecuting him for crimes committed when dealing with the Arizona House Speaker would unconstitutionally intrude on executive power. I would imagine this would apply to every call he's making to state legislatures to check on their election process or whatever. I don't know why Roberts refuses to address that, because he's a fucking coward. But...
It doesn't say settlement agreement. It's a consent decree. It's a disaster.
It's a settlement agreement.
What's written on top of it?
Ryan?
I don't have it in front of me, but it was not entered by the court. It's not a court order.
No, it's called. But Ryan, it's called a consent decree. Is that right on the paper? Is that right?
Okay, what is he referring to? Consent decree. What is a consent decree? Is the state of Florida's framework for compliance with the following federal and state laws and jurisprudence regarding the okay, what is a consent decree? Consent decree, also known as a consent order, is a decree made by a judge with the consent of all parties. It's not strictly a judgment, but rather a settlement agreement approved by the court. The agreement is submitted to the court in writing after the parties have reached a settlement, and once approved by the judge, the agreement is binding and enforceable on both parties. It's not appealable, except that it can be set aside by the court for fraud on the part of one party. Okay, so multiple parties go before a judge, and they basically say, this is what our agreement is, and then they all sign it, and that's a consent decree. What is Trump referring to specifically here?
On top of it. But it doesn't it? It's not a settlement agreement. It's a consent.
And that settlement agreement did not.
Very good lawyer who examined it said they've never seen anything like it. And
harvesting is still illegal in the state of Georgia, and that settlement agreement did not change that.
Well, it's not a settlement agreement. It's a consent decree. It even says consent decree on it, doesn't it?
I don't understand what the difference is here, because it sounds like just a settlement, basically, right? It's a settlement agreement approved by the court. What is the difference? Consent decree versus settlement agreement. Oh, because a settlement might just be out of court with no judicial enforcement, maybe? The memo also clarifies the approval process for both consent and for consent decrees and settlement agreements. Oh, hold on. A consent decree is a negotiated agreement entered as a court order that is enforceable by the court. A settlement agreement is an out-of-state resolution that requires a signed agreement or memorandum of understanding and performance by the defendant. Okay. But this is also federally. I wonder if Georgia... Here's the consent order. Fulton County Board of Registration. Okay, consent order. For the State Election Board, the State of Georgia, the State Election Board, by and through council, and the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections hereby enter into the following consent order for the use in SEV case number blah, 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 before the State Election Board in lieu of an evidentiary hearing. Okay. Who is this between? I hate reading these. So the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections, are they the respondent here? And then who's filing? The State Election Board, buying through council, and the Fulton County Board of Registration and Elections hereby enter into the following consent order. So these are the two parties, right? So the State Election Board was engaged with some action against the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections, and now they have a consent order that they've both acceded to. The respondent denies any willful misconduct, but they desire that the above captioned case be resolved in its entirety in order to avoid further litigation, the point of a settlement, or in this case, a consent. Okay. Respondent acknowledges that there is evidence of a prima facie case supporting the following assertions and enters into this negotiated consent order to resolve the issue that arose related to the 2020 election in Fulton County, Georgia. There were 36 inconsistencies discovered in the batch tally sheet. A thorough investigation of the complaints was conducted by the Secretary of State's investigation divisions. Investigators met with the complainant, viewed all the data. Also shows the Fulton County election staff misidentified and duplicated audit batch sheet data when entering the data into the Arlo software used by the Secretary of State's office to manage the risk limiting audit. By failing to enter all of the audit batch sheet data accurately, they violated SCB rule regarding audits. The investigators further concluded that the reported inconsistencies were the result of human error in entering the data, which were not discovered in time to make corrections due to time limitations, completing the risk limiting audit, not due to intentional misconduct. Discovered errors were a fractional number of the total votes counted did not affect the results of the 2020 general election in Fulton County, which were confirmed as accurate by the risk limiting audit. The purpose of the risk limiting audit was to confirm whether the results of the original tabulation ballots were accurate. Okay, so the order resolves all matters. Orders the respondent cease and desist from further violations, of course. They're going to implement written policies and procedures. Respondent they'll do more training. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm super guessing, shooting a little from the hip here. I'm not 100% sure. So is Trump upset because it sounds like the state election board did an investigation in the Fulton County board and they found they fucked up. And to resolve this, they're saying, okay, we're going to both sign a consent order, and this is going to show that you guys did admit that you fucked up, but you didn't do it you didn't intentionally fuck shit up, but you did fuck up, and here's how you're going to remedy this so that it doesn't happen in the future. You've got to implement these policies, do this training shit. And is Trump upset because he didn't want any kind of consent order signed? He didn't want it. He wanted to keep the case open, or he wanted to push this into something more like criminal or something. It sounds like that's what he's upset about. That's my guess, but we can find out. Hold on. Let me re-listen to this now that I understand what's going on.
I can't imagine you're allowed to do harvesting, I guess, in that agreement. That agreement is a disaster for this country. But she got you somehow to sign that thing, and she's outsmarted you at every step. And I hate to imagine what.
Wait, so what?
Well, Mr. President, we do
chose
have our
Cobb
election
County.
contest.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
We chose Cobb County because that was the only county where there's been any evidence submitted that the signature verification was not properly done.
Well, no, but I told you, but we're not saying that.
Oh wait, hold on.
County.
County, not Cobb County. Did you do Cobb County? We didn't even request. We requested Fulton County, not Cobb County.
Okay.
Well, Mr. President, we do
chose
have our
Cobb
election
County.
contest.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
We chose Cobb County because that was the only county where there's been any evidence submitted that the signature verification was not properly done.
Okay.
Well, no, but I told you, but we're not saying that. We are the agreed party. Fulton County. Look, Stacey, in my opinion, Stacey is as dishonest as they come. She has outplayed you at every heart, at everything. She got you to sign a totally unconstitutional agreement.
What, unconstitutional?
Which is a disastrous agreement. You can't check signatures. You can't do that. I can't imagine you're allowed to do harvesting, I guess, in that agreement. That agreement is a disaster for this country. But she got you somehow to sign that thing, and she's outsmarted you at every step. And I hate to imagine what's going to happen on Monday or Tuesday, but it's very scary to people, where the ballots flow in out of nowhere. It's very scary to people. That consent decree is a disaster. It's a disaster. a very good lawyer who examined it said they've never seen anything like it. And
Plus, the harvesting is still illegal in the state of Georgia, and that settlement agreement did not change that.
Who's Stacey? I'm guessing here he's referring to Stacey Abrams. Was she involved in like the election board or whatever? Was that her involvement in this? I'm not 100% sure. I don't think she was in elected office at this time. Did she have another role, though, in something else? Because she was, like, actively campaigning and shit, too, right? Maybe. Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure who he's talking about when he says Stacey, then. I'm not sure.
Well, it's not a settlement agreement. It's a consent decree. It even says consent decree on it, doesn't it? It uses the term consent decree. It doesn't say settlement agreement. It's a consent decree. It's a disaster.
It's a settlement agreement.
What's written on top of it?
Ryan?
I don't have it in front of me, but it was not entered by the court. It's not a court order.
No, it's called. But Ryan, it's called the consent decree. Is that right?
Oh, they must be referring to something else, or the people on the phone are mistaken. If he's saying it's not a court order, it's not entered by the court, then whatever the guy on the phone is talking about is not the same as what we're looking at here. It must be something different, or he's just completely mistaken.
On the paper, is that right?
I don't believe so. I don't have it in front of me.
Okay. Whatever. It's a disaster. It's a disaster.
But it's hard to know because Trump has no fucking idea what the fuck he's heard somebody say, this thing is a disaster. It's a huge mess, and that's it. He has no fucking idea what.
Sure. Look, here's the problem. We can go through signature verification, and we'll find hundreds of thousands of signatures if you let us do it. And the only way you can do it, as you know, is to go to the past. But you didn't do that in Cobb County. You just looked at one page compared to another. The only way you can do a signature verification is go from the one that signed it on November, whatever, recently, and compare it to 2 years ago, 4 years ago, 6 years ago, or even one. And you'll find that you have many different signatures. But in Fulton, where they dumped ballots, you will find that you have many that aren't even signed, and you have many that are forgeries. Okay? You know that. You know that. You have no doubt about that. And you will be at 11,779.
Fulton County, Georgia acknowledges in a major consent decree that 3,600 individual ballots were duplicated. Trump is referring to a consent order, not a consent decree. Oh, is there a difference? Consent order. Versus a consent decree. Consent order in state of Georgia. Fuck me, dude. This doesn't help. Consent agreements may be entered into the pre-investigative consent order in situations where the individual agrees to the imposition of certain disciplinary sanctions. Entering in a consent agreement resulting in a consent order is entirely voluntary, and any person entering into such agreement waives all other proceedings. Okay. Rules and regulations, state of Georgia, consent order. Holy Christ, AIDS. Well, wait, hold on. We can just read this and figure it out, right? I think. So, the Fulton County Board of Registrations and Elections are the respondent. That seems to imply a court being involved, and it's before the state election board, state of Georgia. And then, but it's saying SEB case, which is probably state election board case. And this says that they're entering into a consent order for use in this case before the state election board. So it sounds like this isn't before a court then. I was incorrect when I said before that this is not filed with a court. This is a consent order from the state election board. Where's my Georgian civil people at? Right? There's no judge signature or anything. There's no Fulton County Board. Okay. Yeah, okay. None of this is before a court. These are probably the training procedures or whatever other bullshit they wanted to make sure that they're using. Okay. Okay, so it does matter. There is a difference between a consent order and a consent decree here. And it is a consent order, not a consent decree. Okay. Jesus, fuck.
Within minutes, because Fulton County is totally corrupt, and so is she totally corrupt. And they're going around playing you and laughing at you behind your back, Brad. Whether you know it or not, they're laughing at you. And you've taken a state that's a Republican state, and you've made it almost impossible for a Republican to win because of cheating, because they cheated like nobody's ever cheated before. And I don't care how long it takes me. We're going to have other states coming forward pretty good. But I won't. This is never given. We have some incredible talent. Said they've never seen anything. Now, the problem is they need more time for the big numbers, but they are very substantial numbers. And I think you're going to find that they, by the way, a little information. I think you're going to find that they are shredding ballots because they have to get rid of the ballots because the ballots are unsigned. The ballots are corrupt. And they're brand new and they don't have seals. And there's a whole thing with the ballots, but the ballots are corrupt. And you're going to find that they are, which is totally illegal. It's more illegal for you than it is for them because you know what they did and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense. And you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan.
Now, listening to Donald Trump talk on some things, there were a couple things that he said. I wish I could remember the example. It said on stream. When he says, I'm like, this seems a lot more intentional than I had originally assumed. For instance, that counting the electoral slates, the speech that he gave, it's more intentional than I assumed. Now looking back, I'm like, oh, okay. He knew what was going on there. There was a second thing that we saw on stream also. Now, when he speaks here, one, Donald Trump is the chief executive. He's the head executive of the United States, and underneath him is the Department of Justice, okay? The Department of Justice is the office of investigation or whatever, right, that exists in the executive that Donald Trump has a direct connection to, okay? Now, this guy, who is arguably the head of federal prosecution, okay, this guy makes a statement to you. He doesn't say that there's wrongdoing. And he doesn't even just say that there is like criminal wrongdoing. Not that somebody's fucked up. Not somebody intentionally fucked up. He said that there is a criminal act, right? The actus reus, and there is a criminal intent, your mens rea. He's establishing both, and he's handing them to Raffensperger in this call. That's really spooky. He's not just saying somebody fucked up. He's saying somebody committed a crime, and you know they committed a crime, right? Now, how intentional is it versus Donald Trump just talking shit? I don't know. Jesus, but...
Because you know what they did. The ballots are unsigned. The ballots are corrupt. And they're brand new and they don't have seals. And there's a whole thing with the ballots. But the ballots are corrupt. And you're going to find that they are, which is totally illegal. It's more illegal for you than it is for them. Because you know what they did and you're not reporting it. That's a criminal offense. And you can't let that happen. That's a big risk to you and to Ryan, your lawyer. That's a big risk. But they are shredding ballots, in my opinion.
It implicates both of them criminally liable for not finding enough votes for Trump because they must have known about the voter fraud, and says that it would be a big risk, both of them.
opinion, based on what I've heard, and they are.
Isn't he
removing
trying
machinery.
to make them uncomfortable, putting doubts in their head, and hope they break and give in? That's one way to interpret it. Or you could just interpret it as a threat.
And they're moving it as fast as they can, both of which are criminal fines, and you can't let it happen, and you are letting it happen. You know, I mean, I'm notifying you that you're letting it happen. So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state, and flipping the state is a great testament to our country, because, you know, and there's just, it's a testament that they can admit to a mistake, or whatever you want to call it, if it was a mistake. I don't know. A lot of people think it wasn't a mistake. It was much more criminal than that. But it's a big problem in Georgia, and it's not a problem that's going away. I mean, you know, it's not a problem that's going away. And we got to.
President, this is Ryan. We're looking into every one of those things that you mentioned.
Okay,
all
that's
investigators.
good. But if you find them, you got to say it, Ryan. Look, if let me ask you, Ryan, if they're destroying ballots.
I'll tell you what we are seeing.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
What we're seeing is not at all what you're describing.
Let me tell you what we're seeing, okay? Nothing from Truth Social. Nothing from Trump World seems to be manifesting in the real world, Donald.
And these are investigators from our...
Keep in mind how unenviable the position is here also for Raffensperger, right? For imagine you have the spiritual leader of the Republican Party, okay, who's already destroyed some careers for people not falling in line, and now he's calling you to pressure you. Like, is your whole political future on the line here? Like, what do you do at this point, you know? Imagine if Donald Trump doesn't help, imagine, for instance, if he wouldn't help your Georgia Senate runoff elections because he's so ass mad about how your state handled things.
These are investigators from GBI, and they're looking, and they're good, and that's not what they're seeing. And we'll keep looking. We'll keep looking at all these things.
Well, you better check on the ballots, because they are shredding ballots, Ryan. I'm just telling you, Ryan. They're shredding ballots. And you should look at that very carefully, because that's so illegal. You know, you may not even believe it because it's so bad, but they're shredding ballots because they think we're going to eventually get there, because we'll eventually get into Fulton. You know, it's in my opinion, it's never too late. So little double sound act. So that's the story, fellas. Look, we need only 11,000 votes. We have far more than that as it stands now. We'll have more and more. And do you have provisional ballots at all, Brad? Provisional ballots?
Provisional ballots are allowed, you know, by state law.
Sure, but do you have them? I mean, are they counted, or did you just hold them back because they, you know? In other words, how many provisional ballots do you have in the state?
We'll get you that number.
Because most of them are made out to the name Trump, because these are people that were scammed when they came in, and we have thousands of people that have testified or that want to testify. When they came in, they were proudly going to vote on November 3rd, and they were told, I'm sorry, you've already been voted for, you've already voted. The women, men started screaming, no, I proudly voted till November 3rd. They said,
oh, yeah, the reason why the phone was echoing there, that was when Moeller jumped on the line, by the way.
I'm sorry, but you already been voted for, and you have a ballot. And these people are beside themselves. So they went out and they filled in a provisional ballot, putting the name Trump on it. And what about that batch of military ballots that came in? And even though I won the military by a lot, it was 100% Trump. Do you know? I mean, 100% Biden. Do you know about that? A large group of ballots came in. I think it was the Fulton County, and they just happened to be 100% for Trump, even though Biden, even though Trump won the military by a lot, you know, a tremendous amount. But these ballots were 100% for Biden. And you know about that? A very substantial number came in, all for Biden. Does anybody know about it?
I know about it, but we were never.
Well, okay, Toledo, wait. I'm not asking you, Toledo, honestly. I'm asking Brad. Do you know about the military ballots that we have confirmed now? Do you know about?
Poor. Who is this Cleta cuck? She sounds like she's actually like trying to sort of be kind of like a real lawyer. Like she can only report on this shit. He needed to bring the true sycophants in here. He needed his Eastmans. He needed his Giulianis. He needed his pals in this call. Who's this Cleta cuck? Oh no.
The military ballots that came in that were 100%. I mean, 100% for Biden. Do you know about that?
And I don't know about that. I do know that we have, when military ballots come in, it's not just military. It's also military and...
someone said, nope, she's a true believer and an absolute lunatic. All right, well.
Citizens. The military part of that does generally go Republican. The overseas citizen part of it generally goes very Democrat.
No, but this was yeah, that's okay. But I got like 78% in the military. These ballots were all for this. They didn't tell me overseas. Could be overseas too, but I get votes overseas too, Ryan. You know, in all fairness.
Thanks, Thomas Karsten. Maybe I'll look into it. Okay.
No, they came in, a large batch came in, and it was, quote, 100% for Biden. And that is criminal. You know, that's criminal. Okay, that's another criminal. That's another of the many criminal events. Many criminal events here. I don't know. Look, Brad, I have to find 12,000 votes, and I have them times a lot. And therefore, I won the state. That's before we go to the next step, which is in the process of right now. You know, and I watched you this morning, and you said, well, there was no criminality, but I mean, all of this stuff is very dangerous stuff. When you talk about no criminality, I think it's very dangerous for you to say that. I just don't know why you don't want to have. The votes counted.
What's the implication? Dangerous to say that. Why? He's alluding to the idea that he's knowingly engaging in criminal behavior, which would make him prosecutable by who the fuck knows who. Trump probably thinks that somehow his federal courts can hear the case. I don't even know what the fuck kind of standing. No, it would only be, he'd have to be a private litigant, actually. But I don't even know if Trump knows that because he's fucking retarded. Trump probably thinks that he can get like the DOJ to prosecute somehow. But it wouldn't be Donald Trump the president. It would be Donald Trump as a candidate because the federal court wouldn't have standing to hear the case. I don't think so. If it felt like there was criminal conduct. No, because the criminal conduct would be Georgian election officials not being pursuant to Georgian law. It'd have to be a state case. And the injured party would have to be somebody who's part of the state, or in this case, part of the election, like Trump's campaign. So it'd be Trump as a private citizen doing action. It wouldn't be... Well, but he's saying criminal. I'm sorry. Criminal wouldn't be Trump. Trump wouldn't be there at all. It would be the Georgia courts would have to prosecute on this. I don't know what's in Trump's head for this. I don't know what the fuck he thinks. He's just making threats, I think. So I've asked before about how you're considering presenting all this. No clue yet. Just doing all the research for it. So I have all the data here. And then my next note will just be figuring out what's the important part and then condensing that into a video.
As they are. Like even you, when you went and did that check, and I was surprised because, I did the check, and we found a few thousand votes that were against me. I was actually surprised because the way that check was done, all you're doing is recertifying existing votes. And, you were given votes and you just counted them up, and you still found 3,000 that were bad. That was sort of surprising. That came down to 3 or 5. I don't know. Still a lot of votes. But you have to go back to check from past years with respect to signatures. And if you check with Fulton County, you'll have hundreds of thousands because they dumped ballots into Fulton County and the other county next to it. So what are we going to do here, folks? I only need 11,000 votes. Fellas, I need 11,000 votes. Give me a break. We have that in spades already, or we can keep it going. But that's not fair to the voters of Georgia because they're going to see what happened. And they're going to see what happened. I mean, I'll take on anybody you want with regard to Ruby Freeman and her lovely daughter. A very lovely young lady, I'm sure. But Ruby Freeman, I will take Freeman. I will take on anybody you want. And the minimum, there were 18,000 ballots, but they used them 3 times. So that's, a lot of votes. And that one event, and they were all to Biden, by the way. That's the other thing we didn't say. The Ruby Freeman, one thing I forgot to say, which was the most important. Do you know that every single ballot she did went to Biden? You know that, right? Do you know that, by the way, Brad?
Do you know that? How do you even how could you possibly know that?
Every single ballot that she did through the machine at early in the morning went to Biden. Did you know that, Ryan?
That's not accurate, Mr. President.
Huh. What?
Ooh. Oof.
Did you know that, Ryan?
That's not accurate, Mr. President.
Huh. What is accurate?
The numbers that we are showing are accurate.
No, about Ruby Freeman, about early in the morning, Ryan, when the woman took when the whole gang took the stuff out from under the table, right? Do you know do you know who those ballots? Do you know who they were made out to? Do you know who they were voting for?
No, not specifically.
Did you ever check?
We did what I described to you earlier.
No. Did you ever check the ballots that were scammed by Ruby Freeman, a known political operative balloteer? Did you ever check who those votes were for?
Known political operative balloteer.
We looked into that situation that you described.
No, they were 100% for Biden.
How would Trump even know that? How would they even have that information? What, like, are you... I guess he said they magnified in the video. We can see the videos on YouTube, Chief. Like, how could he even possibly know that?
100%. There wasn't a Trump vote in the whole group. Why don't you want to find this, Ryan? What's wrong with you? I heard your lawyer is very difficult, actually, but I'm sure you're a good lawyer. You have a nice last name. But
what was his last name again? Ryan Germany. Is Germany a prestigious last name, or is it just a fucking retarded Trump statement? Is Germany a Jewish last name? I have no fucking idea. Or is there a different lawyer that he's talking about?
We looked into that situation that you described.
no, they were 100% for Biden. 100%. There wasn't a Trump vote in the whole group. Why don't you want to find this, Ryan? What's wrong with you? I heard your lawyer is very difficult, actually, but I'm sure you're a good lawyer. You have a nice last name. But I'm just curious. Why do you keep fighting this thing? It just doesn't make sense. We're way over the 17,779, right? We're way over that number. And just if you took just Ruby Freeman, we're over that number by five or six times when you multiply it out times 3. And every single ballot went to Biden. And you didn't know that, but now you know it. So tell me, Brad, what are we going to do? We won the election, and it's not fair to take it away from us like this. And it's going to be very costly in many ways. And I think you have to say that you're going to re-examine it, and you can re-examine it, but re-examine it with people that want to find answers, not people that don't want to find answers. For instance, I'm hearing...
Fucking true. Patron, I nominate you to be the new fucking conservative spintard. Biden would never fight this hard to be president. Absolutely true. That's the one positive thing you could say about Trump here. You know what my band teacher used to say? He used to say, if you aren't cheating, you aren't trying.
Ryan, and he's probably, I'm sure, a great lawyer and everything, but he's making statements about those ballots that he doesn't know. But he's making them with such, he did make them with surety, but now I think he's less sure because the answer is they all went to Biden. And that alone wins us the election by a lot. You know, so.
Mr. President, you have people that submit information, and we have our people that submit information, and then it comes before the court, and the court then has to make a determination.
Cringe. Imagine caring about the fucking courts. You mean where the never-Trumper BJ Pack is? That court?
We have to stand by our numbers. We believe our numbers are right.
Well, actually, BJ Pack was a federal court guy. Did it get appealed up to the federal court? I don't remember.
Well, why do you say that, though? I don't know. I mean, sure, we can play this game with the courts, but why do you say that? First of all, they don't even assign us.
Fuck the court. Yeah, but we're going to play with the court. Come on, man. Seriously, you trust those fucking bozos?
Well, why do you say that, though? I don't know. I mean, sure, we can play this game with the courts, but why do you say that? First of all, they don't even assign us a judge. They don't even assign us a judge. But why wouldn't you, hey, Brad, why wouldn't you want to check out Ruby Freeman? And why wouldn't you want to say, hey, if in fact President Trump is right about that, then he wins the state of Georgia. Just that one incident alone, without going through hundreds of thousands of drop ballots. You just say you stick by. I mean, I've been watching you for you don't care about anything. Your numbers are right, but your numbers aren't right. They're really wrong, and they're really wrong, Brad. And I know this phone call is going nowhere other than ultimately, look, ultimately I win, okay? Because you guys are so wrong, and you've treated, look, ultimately I win, okay?
That's a good soundbite. That should be a donut sound.
Because you guys are so wrong, and you've treated the population of Georgia so badly. Between you and your governor, who was down at 21, he was down 21 points, and like a schmuck, I endorsed him and he got elected. But I will tell you, he's a disaster, and he'll never. I can't imagine. The people are so angry in Georgia. I can't imagine he's ever getting elected again. I'll tell you.
Did you see what he almost said there? Actually, I changed my mind. Trump is very intentional. Did you see what he almost did? He almost did blackmail and then he stopped. Well, would you consider this blackmail or extortion or what? He almost said, I'm never going to support him again. I supported him and he fucking won, that schmuck. And I would the people are never going to vote for him. He almost did. You hear it coming here?
Points. And like a schmuck, I endorsed him and he got elected. But I will tell you, he's a disaster. And he'll never, I can't imagine. The people are so angry in Georgia, I can't.
And then he intelligently, he rephrases this. He'll never, the people are going to be so mad that they're not going to vote right. That's
Imagine he's ever getting elected again. I'll tell you that much right now. But why wouldn't you want to find the right answer, Brad, instead of keep saying that the numbers are right? Because those numbers are so wrong.
Mr. Secretary, Mr. President, I mean, one of the things that we have been, Alex can talk about this, we talked about it, and I don't know whether the information has been conveyed to your office, but I think what the President's saying, what we've been trying to do is to say, look, the court is not acting on our petition. They haven't even assigned a judge. But the people of Georgia and the people of America have a right to know the answers. And you have data and records that we don't have access to. And you keep telling us and making public statements that you've investigated this and, nothing to see here. But we don't know about that. All we know is what you tell us. What I don't understand is why it wouldn't be in everyone's best interest to try to get to the bottom, compare the numbers. If you
you have to understand. Hold on. I want you to understand, okay? Only 7,000 of you. The only ones on the internet will understand this, okay? Because we're the only ones that actually care about any of the structure. You have to understand the insanity of this request. Because on its face, it sounds like a reasonable request that they're making, but it's absolutely not. It's an insane request, okay? So even if Donald Trump, the president of the United States, okay, you have the federal government, all right? And the federal government, you've got Congress, the Supreme Court, and then you've got the president, all right? And in the president, you have this little thing called the DOJ that does investigations, all right? And then over here, you've got a separate entity, all right? You've got the state of Georgia, all right? Georgia has its court, governor, and their legislature, right? Even if the president of the United States, as the president of the United States, was demanding voter information from Georgia, Georgia would already say, fuck you. Why the fuck? You have to come at us with a crazy subpoena, and not you, Mr. President. It would have to be your DOJ, would have to file a suit in a federal court, and then the federal court can come after us for this information. Why would we ever turn that over to you? That request would already be an egregious one for the president of the United States to make. But he's not even making this request as part of a formal investigation with a subpoena or as president of the United States. He's making this request as a private citizen. The private citizen, Donald Trump, who's running for president, and his personal lawyer is asking the state of Georgia, hey, Georgia, can you just open all of your voter information for us? Not as part of discovery in a court case, not as part of a subpoena for a criminal charge, and not as part of like any other type of court order that might be granted pretrial or whatever, right? But as a private citizen, he's demanding, he's saying, I need your voter information. It's such an unfathomably, insanely it would be the equivalent of me running for office and me not winning, and then me just like calling up like the Secretary of State, I guess, right, for Ramsburg, and be like, hey, so I know that we lost the last election. I got this guy, Daniel Saltman, founder of Tiny Chat, by the way. We just want to like look at all of the voter registration information you have, because I'm pretty sure you guys somebody cheated. Okay, so can you just go ahead and email me? Can you just email me like all of your super private, super confidential voter information that you wouldn't even release to the federal government, by the way? Because why the fuck would you? Can you just go ahead and send me that information? We won't fuck with it at all or do anything bad with it, but just send us all of that personal information. Thank you. It's such an unbelievably crazy request. Do they ever directly respond? I know we listed this a long time ago. Do they ever directly respond to how inappropriate and insane that request is?
all we know is what you tell us. What I don't understand is why it wouldn't be in everyone's best interest to try to get to the bottom, compare the numbers. You know, if you say, because to try to be able to get to the truth, and that because we don't have any way of confirming what you're telling us. You tell us that you've had an investigation at the State Farm Arena.
Why would it matter for you to confirm? You're not William Barr. You're not Bill Barr. This isn't the DOJ asking for confirmation, which I don't even know, by the way, if the DOJ even has any fucking standing to ask this question. Okay, why the fuck would they? You need an injured party in the state of Georgia to ask this question. Okay, so fuck you as the personal lawyer of Donald. Like, who are you to even make this request? Why would you ever think they would acquiesce to this? It's an insane request.
Confirming what you're telling us. You tell us that you've had an investigation at the State Farm Arena. I don't have any report. I've never seen a report of investigation. I don't.
Who the fuck are you? You're Trump's private lawyer. Why the fuck would you see that report? You'll see whatever they publish publicly. Or you can go to a Georgia court and get a fucking order for it, do a case and do discovery and figure it out that way. But like,
that you've had an investigation of the State Farm Arena. I don't have any report. I've never seen a report of investigation. I don't know what that is. I've been very involved in this. I don't know. And that's just one of like 25 categories. And it doesn't even, and as the president said, we haven't even gotten into the Dominion issue. That's not part of our case. It's not part of, we just didn't feel as though we had any way to be able to develop.
No, we do have a way, but I don't want to get into it because
Exactly.
we found a way in other states, later, excuse me, but we don't need it because we're only down 11,000 votes, so we don't even need it.
Right.
I personally think they're corrupt as hell, but we don't need that because all we have to do, Slate, is find 11,000 plus votes. So we don't need that. I'm not looking to shake up the whole world. We won Georgia easily. We won it by hundreds of thousands of votes, but if you go by basic, simple numbers, we won it easily. So we're not giving Dominion a pass on the record.
No, right, exactly.
But we just don't, we don't need Dominion because we have so many other votes that we don't need to prove it any more than we already have.
Mr. President, this is Kurt.
was he talking about the elector scheme there? No, here he's saying that like they have a secret way to go after Dominion and hold Dominion accountable because he thinks that that's going to happen, but that they don't. It's fucking.
Hilbert, if I might back here for a moment. Ryan, I would like to suggest that just 4 categories that have already been mentioned by the president that have actually hard numbers of 24,149.
Who's this guy? This is one of his other lawyers. This is like a no-name dude. I think on the call talking right now. Alex Kaufman or Kurt Hilbert, maybe?
Votes that were counted illegally. That in and of itself is sufficient to change the result or place the outcome in doubt. We would like to just sit down with your office, and we can do it through purposes of compromise.
This part is really important as well. Why not get into Dominion if you think if they are awful? If you have such damning evidence, why not show it? Because this is part of hopefully what he hopes is going through the DOJ. But I'm thinking by January 3rd, I think Bill Barr's already shot him down and said, "Sorry, sir, but this is all bullshit." I'm pretty sure. Wait, hold on. Department of Justice, FBI, public statement, Dominion voting machine. I think this was made months earlier, no? There was a public statement that was released on, I want to say it was like the DOJ.gov website. Or justice.gov. Fuck. I thought that Barr literally... Public statement, Dominion voting machines, FBI, Bill Barr. Wait, is it this? I thought this was, I know I read this on a published, like on a .gov site. It was a letter that Bill Barr had written to the public. And I think he spoke about how they had seized or they'd gotten one Dominion voting machine, they'd analyzed it, and they said that any claims about there being weird software, any bullshit like that was just not. I'm just curious if it was before or well, whatever. It was probably this article is referring to, if there was something published, it was this. But this was December 1st, 2020. So Barr's already said fuck you on the whole Dominion bullshit. So actually, I don't know what Trump is referring. He's just talking shit when he's saying we've already got a way to talk about it. He doesn't. Nobody in the DOJ is willing to take up this absurdity for him.
Actually, the hard numbers of 24,149 votes that were counted illegally. That in and of itself is sufficient to change the result or place the outcome in doubt. We would like to just sit down with your office, and we can do it through purposes of compromise and settlement, just like this phone call, just to deal with that limited category of votes. And if you are able to establish that our numbers are not accurate, then fine. However, we believe that they are accurate. We've had now 3 to 4 separate experts look at these numbers. These numbers are based upon the USPS.
And certified accountants looked at them.
Correct. And this is just based on USPS data and your own Secretary of State data. So that's what we would entreat and ask you to do, to sit down with us in a compromise and settlements, proceeding, and actually go through the registered voter IDs and the registrations. And if you can convince us that 24,149 is inaccurate, then fine. But we tend to believe that is, obviously more than 11,779. That's sufficient to change the result entirely in and of itself. So what would you say to that, Mr. Germany?
Kurt, I'm happy to. I'll get with our lawyers and we'll set that up. That number is not accurate, and I think we can show you for all the ones we've looked at why it's not. And so if that would be helpful, I'm happy to get with our lawyers and set that up with you guys.
Well, let me ask you, Kurt. Kurt, you think that is an accurate number? That was based on the information given to you by the Secretary of State's Department, right?
That is correct. That information is the minimum, most conservative data based upon the USPS data and the Secretary of State's office data that has been made publicly available. We do not have the internal numbers from the Secretary of State.
When he says made publicly available, what he means is that's the number that they read on the website. Bro.
Yet we have asked for it 6 times. I've sent a letter over to Mr. Anulowicz several times requesting this information, and it's been rebuffed every single time. So
I want to read those letters. Are those published anywhere? The letters have to just be saying, bro, fuck off. Why the fuck would we ever give that information to you? Come back when you have a fucking subpoena or a court order. Why the fuck would we ever give you that information?
It stands to reason that if the information is not forthcoming, there's something to hide. That's the problem that we have.
Wait.
Well, that's not the case.
What did he just say? Wait, hold on. I'm sorry.
Requesting this information, and it's been rebuffed every single time. So it stands to reason that if the information is not forthcoming, there's something to hide.
If you're not willing to turn over all of your private voter information to us, you must be hiding something? Excuse me, sir. The burden on proof is on you to even make a positive claim of which you've, given none. Like, I'm so fuck me. I was gonna say I'm so happy that the state of Georgia is the one doing the RICO case, but who knows how much of that case is going to survive the Supreme Court immunity ruling.
That's the problem that we have.
Well, that's not the case. There are things that you guys are entitled to get, and there's things that under law we are not allowed to give out.
Well, you have to. Well, under law, you're not allowed to give faulty election results. Okay, you're not allowed to do that, and that's what you've done. This is a faulty election result, and honestly.
Hold on, real quick. Wrong. It's a little different because Trump is president at this time, so he has some power. Bullshit. Trump is not acting as president here. That's why he's on this call with his personal lawyers, more or less. This isn't the Department of Justice. He doesn't have Donahue or Rosen with him. He doesn't have his attorney generals. None of this is in the capacity as the executive investigating a state. Also, fuck the investigative powers of the DOJ on the state here. They don't have standing here. What law? It's not up to the Department of Justice. The federal government does not enforce state law against a state legislature or election body. It's wholly inappropriate. They have no standing to even bring this fucking case. They want a legal challenge here. It has to come within the state of Georgia itself. The federal government, but that was even if he was acting as the head of the federal government. But he's not. This is Donald Trump as a candidate with his personal lawyers on the phone call, making a personal plea to get voter information. None of this is.
Honestly, this should go very fast. You should meet tomorrow because you have a big election coming up, and because of what you've done to the president, the people of Georgia know that this was a scam.
More extortion, blackmail, right?
And because of what you've done to the president, a lot of people aren't going out to vote. And a lot of Republicans are going to vote negative because they hate what you did to the president. Okay? They hate it. And they're going to vote. And if you would be respected, if this thing could be straightened out before the election. You have a big election coming up on Tuesday. And therefore, I think that it really is important that you meet tomorrow and work out on these numbers. Because I know, Brad, that if you think we're right, I think you're going to say, and I'm not looking to blame anybody. I'm just saying that,
and he's giving you like your way out as well, your path to redemption too, right? Like, listen, I'm chill, I'm cool. I just need 12,000 votes. I'm cool though. Like, whatever you guys have to do, I'm chill.
I think we're right. I think you're going to say, and I'm not looking to blame anybody. I'm just saying that, under new counts and under new views of the election results, we won the election. It's very simple. We won the election. As the governor of major states and the surrounding states said, there is no way you lost Georgia. As the Georgia politicians say, there is no way you lost Georgia. Nobody, everyone knows I won it by hundreds of thousands of votes. But I'll tell you, it's going to have a big impact on Tuesday if you guys don't get this thing straightened out fast.
Like, this is the guy that Republicans say he could sit across the table from Putin and fucking negotiate. Shut the fuck up, you fucking retard. This guy got dog walked by the fucking Georgia Secretary of State. He didn't even have any fucking idea what he could even ask for in this call. This is the guy that's going to negotiate across the table from Xi Jinping and fucking Vladimir Putin. Give me a break.
Yes.
Well, Mr. President, this is Mark. Let me just. It sounds like we've got two different sides agreeing that we.
You watched the ABC Trump investigation video yet? No, this is all. I'm just doing my own reading. Thank you, though.
Well, Mr. President, this is Mark. Let me just. It sounds like we've got two different sides agreeing that we can look at those areas, and I assume that we can do that within the next 24 to 48 hours to go ahead and get that reconciled, so that we can look at the two claims and making sure that we get the access to the Secretary of State's data to either validate or invalidate the claims that have been made. Is that correct?
So that's not what I said. I'm happy to sit down with, or have our lawyers sit down with Kurt and the lawyers on that side and explain to him, hey, here's based on what we've looked at so far. Here's how.
Hold on.
Correct. We get the access to 48 hours. You can look at the president. This is Mark.
It's going to have a big impact on Tuesday if you guys don't get this thing straightened out fast.
Well, Mr. President, this is Mark. Let me.
Oh, this is Mark Kelly, the chief of staff. Okay, so kind of an official. Well, not official. He's the chief of staff. I don't know why he's on this call. It feels a little inappropriate. I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know why the White House chief of staff should be on this call, but okay.
It sounds like we've got two different sides agreeing that we can look at those areas, and I assume that we can do that within the next 24 to 48 hours to go ahead and get that reconciled, so that we can look at the two claims and making sure that we get the access to the Secretary of State's data to either validate or invalidate the claims that have been made. Is that correct?
I love that. You've got two people. This is like a used car salesman, right? You've got two wholly different interpretations of events. And then this guy at the end is like, okay, so it sounds like we all agree. You're going to go ahead and turn over everything to Trump's side, and then we can just go ahead and look through it all, and we'll all like be chill. Well, we'll figure it all out, and we'll be cool. And yeah, does that sound good? Like, hello, sir. I'm sorry. Were you not here for the last 57 minutes of phone call?
So that's not what I said. I'm happy to sit down with, or have our lawyers sit down with Kurt and the lawyers on that side and explain to him, hey, here's based on what we've looked at so far. Here's how we know this is wrong. 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 And
so what you're saying, Ryan? Hold on. Let me make sure. So what you're
so. Okay, hold on, Ryan. Let's try this one more time, Ryan. Wait, fuck. I don't remember how this phone call ends. Is he about to threaten him? What you're saying is you don't want to try to find criminal behavior in your state, or is he about to? Or is he going to try to reframe it to say, like, well, what you're saying is we just need to talk and then you'll turn it all over? Is it going to be a threat, or is it going to be another, like, dramatic rephrasing?
How we know this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And
so what you're saying, Ryan, hold on, let me make sure. So what you're saying is you really don't want to give access to the data. You just want to make another case on why the lawsuit is wrong?
Oh. Well. Okay, kind of. That's actually okay. That's an okay thing, yeah. Kind of, yeah. It is. It's still. He's not acknowledging how ridiculous the request is, but this wasn't as bad as I thought it'd be.
I don't think we can give access to data that's protected by law. But we can sit down with them and say,
but
hey,
you're allowed to have a phony election?
Trump is so. He just like he interjects. It's like me arguing with Cake that like I want to host like 5 terabytes of movies on my fucking website. And Cake is like, we don't have the bandwidth for that. And I'm like, but you can host my stream on DGG. And Cake's like, well, it's not actually us hosting the data. It's right there on the webpage. I can see it. I've had many people tell me that they go to DGG and they watch my site. Why can't we just put movies up here? We can't host them directly, sir. That's not what I was told. In fact, Vosh says that on their website with Whiteleaf, they host movies all the time. We don't have the bandwidth, sir. But you have the bandwidth to host my streams. It's just like...
Give access to data that's protected by law. But we can sit down with them and say...
But
hey,
you're allowed to have a phony election? You're allowed to have a phony election, right?
No, sir.
When are you going to do the signature counts on that? When are you going to do signature verification on Fulton County? Which you said you were going to do, and now all of a sudden you're not doing it. When are you doing that?
We are
Mr.
going to do that.
President,
We've announced...
to get to this issue of the personal information and privacy issue, is it possible that the Secretary of State could deputize the lawyers for the president so that...
Is this Mark Meadows again? Oh, what a gross, rapey, legally rapey fucking... Can you deputize Donald Trump's personal lawyers to what? Give them unlimited... I don't even know what they would get here. What does deputize mean? So then, how would that give them access? So now you're part of the state of Georgian legal system. How would that even give you access to any of this? Or can you deputize somebody as part of like a...
And privacy issue. Is it possible that the Secretary of State could deputize the lawyers for the president so that we could access that information, that private information, without you having any kind of violation?
That's such an unhinged request. What? We want to be part of the team, sir.
Well, I don't want to know who it is. You guys can do it very confidentially. You can sign a confidentiality agreement.
Oh, and Donald Trump's like, oh, hold on. Are you about to criminally implicate me in some wild fucking heist? I don't need to be on call for that shit.
That's okay. I don't need to know names. But we got the information on this stuff that we're talking about. We got all that information from the Secretary of State.
Yes.
What? No, you didn't. You didn't get any information from the Secretary of State. What are you talking about?
On this stuff that we're talking about, we got all that information from the Secretary of State.
You got it from the website. That's what you mean to say, sir. You didn't get anything like confidential or anything private from the Secretary. You got it from the website, okay?
Yeah, so let me recommend, Ryan, if you and Kurt will get together, when we get off of this phone call, if you could get together and work out a plan to address some of what we've got with your attorneys, where we can actually look at the data. For example, Mr. Secretary, I can tell you, you said there was only 2 dead people that would vote. I can promise you there are more than that, and that may be what your investigation shows, but I can promise you there are more than that. But at the same time, I think it's important that we go ahead and move expeditiously to try to do this and resolve it as quickly as we possibly can. And if that's
because they're kind of certifying the vote in like fucking 3 or 4 days. Or no, wait. When did this call take place? January 2nd, 2024. Was it really that soon before the election? Donald Trump call to Raffensperger, Wikipedia, January 2nd, 2021. Did I say 2024? Sorry, 2021. Damn, 4 days before J6th.
a good next step. Hopefully we can finish this phone call and go ahead and agree that the 2 of you will get together immediately.
Well, why don't my lawyer show you where you got the information? It'll show the Secretary of State, and you don't even have to look at any names. We don't want names. We don't care. But we got that information from you.
From your website.
And Stacey Abrams is laughing about, she's going around saying these guys are dumber than a rock. What he's done to this party is unbelievable, I tell you. And I only ran against her once, and that was with a guy named Brian Kemp, and I beat her. And if I didn't run, Brian wouldn't have had even a shot, either in the general or in the primary. He was dead as a doornail. He never thought he had a shot at either one of them. What a schmuck I was. But that's the way it is. That's the way it is. I would like you to, for the attorneys on my side, I'd like you to perhaps meet with Ryan, ideally tomorrow, because I think we should come to a resolution of this before the election. Otherwise, you're going to have people just not voting. They don't want to vote. They hate the state. They hate the governor, and they hate the Secretary of State. I will tell you that right now. And the only people that like you are people that will never vote for you. You know that, Brad, right? They like you. They like you. They can't believe what they found. They want more people like you. So look, can you get together tomorrow? And Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple.
And then this is where Rob Noor and all the conservatives are like, actually, Destiny, if you listen to the end, he says we just want the truth. So he just asked for the truth. That's all he's saying. I mean, like, what else? What more do you want? Like, he literally says it at the end.
Can you get together tomorrow? And Brad, we just want the truth. It's simple. And everyone's going to look very good if the truth comes out. It's okay. It'll take a little while, but let the truth come out. And the real truth is I won by 400,000 votes, at least. That's the real truth.
Every time he says it, it's just more and more that he won the state by.
But we don't need 400,000 votes. We need less than 2,000 votes. And are you guys able to meet tomorrow, Ryan?
I'll get with Chris, the lawyer who's representing us in the case, and see when he can get together with Kurt.
All right.
Ryan will be in touch with the other attorney on this call, Mr. Meadows. Thank you, President Trump, for your time.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Hey, NBC News viewer.
Can somebody link me, I just want to watch one video. Is there any conservative quote? What did the conservatives say about this phone call?